Hello, my name is Lora Stallings. I'm the Assistant City Manager for the City of DeSoto. The purpose of today's taping is to offer to the citizens an update on the Meadow Creek Park tornado damage remediation project. I have with me today Renee Johnson, Managing Director of Parks and Recreation. Thank you, Renee, for being with us.
Thank you.
I have also Phil Lozano, our Assistant Parks Director. Thank you, Phil.
Yes.
On Saturday, December the 26th of 2015, a tornado went through the southern border of our city. Other cities were damaged by the tornado as well, and DeSoto homes were damaged. DeSoto Meadow Creek Park, which is a youth football facility, sustained damage not only by the way of debris from the area homes, but also the buildings, the scoreboards, the goalposts, and other structures. There was also debris embedded deeply into the ground. Because this facility is used primarily as a football facility, it's incumbent upon the city to take special precautionary measures to ensure the safety of the citizens. Renee, tell me what the city has done to correct the damage to Meadow Creek.
Well, after the tornado, staff was out there the next day trying to remove the debris. We also had the assistance of a contractor. And we started to get out on the park and remove debris. And we really saw that this is really going to be a difficult process. It was massive, massive damage. And so later that week, FEMA was out. We went out with them and took a look at the park, and we knew this is really going to be serious. So we knew that we did not have the expertise, per se, in the park department. So we started working with a group called Pacheco Koch. And this group was able to assist us with the assessment as to what was really going on, what was the status of the condition of the park. They have the structural engineers, they have the folks who can help us assess the damage. And so we started working with them, which I think was really a good choice on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Phil, why can't the city just pick up the debris and open up the park?
That's a good question. Well, our primary focus is to make sure that the park is safe for football. And very, very important. The second piece of that is making sure that we are working with state and federal agencies to help recoup some of the cost of the work, remediation, repair, and work for the site. Early on, unofficially, we went out and we got some quotes from some vendors, and they came in pretty high. So what the Pacheco Koch damage report did for us is it helped focus and narrow down specific areas that needed work. It, as Renee was saying, they had the expertise. They had structural engineers, they had electrical engineers, they had landscape architects, and they looked at all of these pieces and provided us with a more comprehensive report and process for going about and remediating the park. So in that report, they were able to give us these particular functions that needed to be repaired, including the turf, and they gave us cost estimates with it. So it's just one of those things that just being diligent and making sure that we've exhausted every avenue to ensure that one, the park is going to be safe foremost for football play, and then two, that we are recouping as much cost as possible and we're not putting an undue burden on taxpayers.
Can you tell me about how much this cost estimate was, the preliminary estimate for removing the damage?
Right. It came into about $2.2 million. The Pacheco Koch damage report is quite extensive. It's about 400 pages long, and in that report, what they didn't only outline every area that needed remediation, from landscape to athletic sports turf to structural pieces, things like that. But it also put in there the plans when the park was first initially built, so that when a contractor goes out there, we're either getting like type equipment or something that is equal to it, which is extremely important. And then it also in there, it had the state and federal documents as far as processes for making sure that we are going to recoup the money. The one thing that this report did that I like about it, it was so detailed. There are things that are unseen to the untrained eye, and one of those things is the use of a structural engineer. the path of that tornado, the way that it came through Meadow Creek, it came south and tore right through from one corner to the other. And in that process, unfortunately, there were some homes, residents, that the homes were completely taken off their foundations, and all of that debris landed on Meadow Creek. So we had concern, one, about the amount of debris. And when I walked the site, there was OSB strand board roof deck material that was shoved in the ground, and physically 2 of us couldn't pull it out. There was 2x4s that were impaled in the ground, same thing. They were, deeper than 6 inches into the ground. And those things had to, eventually those things have to be removed. There was pieces of metal, there was nails, concrete nails, roofing nails, 16 penny nails, just screws, glass, plastic, all of this stuff, and it just wasn't sitting on top. I'm not an expert by any means, and this is why we hired Pacheco Code. What are we looking at? What is it that we need to do to ensure that this field and all of the other structural features are sound and ready for play? And that's what that report did. And it's important to note that Meadow Creek is not a passive park. Meadow Creek is a sports complex, and it hosts all of DeSoto youth football, in addition to all of the other visiting teams that come in from the surrounding area. Now, understanding that and understanding how football is played and being this an area of expertise that I have in sports field management, we always want to make sure that we are providing a safe, uniform field. And that's why the damage report had to be done. We had to work with the state and the federal government to ensure that everything that we're doing is right, and be diligent to the residents of DeSoto and making sure that everything that we're doing is for the safety of those kids that are going to be out there on the field.
Okay. So because the football complex is different than a park where, say, you might have your children go to play on the swing set, we must undergo some special remediation processes in order to make sure that you're safe in order to play football on the field.
Absolutely. It just doesn't involve mowing. It involves a process of different types of mowing, from getting it down to a half an inch, and then verticutting. It's a type of mowing that goes vertically into the ground that will pull up any extra excess debris, vacuuming through that process, running a magnet over the top of it to make sure that we pick up any metal shards or anything like that. So it's a very labor-intensive process to try to remove all of the debris.
All within federal guidelines.
Yeah,
so
yes.
that we can seek federal reimbursement as much as possible.
Yes.
For this otherwise taxpayer burden, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the Pacheco Coke damage assessment report, and I know that it talks about not only the embedded debris, which is a significant safety hazard, but it also talks about damage to the buildings and the structures and so forth. Because I serve as the risk manager, I can confirm that everything from the ground up is covered by insurance. It's what's underneath the ground that leads us to seek any additional funding possible. And it's the embedded materials that not only are a safety hazard, but it's also incumbent upon the city to come about this the most financially responsible way, because the taxpayers would otherwise be paying for it if we were unable to seek any reimbursement. Renee, how can the city pay for the uninsured portion of the damage?
Well, the city, we're working with FEMA. We've been working with them since the first week of the incident. So we've been working with the other directors, the city manager's office, the finance office. We've been completing our due diligence to make sure we've completed the proper paperwork to meet the guidelines for reimbursement. We know that this is going to be expensive. It's a massive project, and we want to make sure that we are eligible for every dollar that's out there. So it's pretty tedious in order to get it all done, but we want to make sure that this is not a burden for the taxpayers. So if there's a dollar out there, we want to make sure that we're eligible for it.
And thank you for that. Thank you to you and your staff working so hard to make sure that we can get any reimbursement possible.
Yes, thank you.
Phil, when can our citizens expect the park to reopen?
Oh, barring any foreseen difficulties or acts of God, we're looking at the football season for 2017.
2017?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Renee, can you tell us what the city has done with the community with regard to the damage, and how have we updated them?
Right. We try to make sure we're as transparent as we can be. So we have a great relationship with DeSoto Youth Football Association. We meet with them pretty much almost year round because it is DeSoto and it is football. So we've been meeting with them several months. And so after the incident, we did involve them and advise them that it doesn't look good for us to have a season there for 2016, that the project is so massive and we have to be really sure that it's going to be a safe environment when we bring youth football back out. So we've been working with DeSoto ISD to look for alternative locations because football will go on in DeSoto for sure. So we're working with them. We also sent over 1,200 postcards out to the residents around that area because, in DeSoto, our community, they are used to seeing parks that are mowed, that look like our community. And so, of course, this was alarming for residents around that area to see, the damage. And so we've been working diligently to make sure that everybody understands why we're in this state. So when we get calls, we answer those calls. So we sent the information out. Of course, we're doing this video because we want to make sure that our community has the information and they know what our plans are. And next week we'll be talking to City Council about it as well. Our goal in DeSoto is to always be transparent. We have a really engaged community, and we want to make sure that they're aware that we're doing everything possible to make sure that our kids, when they come back to Meadow Creek, it's going to be a safe environment for them.
Okay, thank you. I would like to publicly thank all the FEMA representatives and any of the state assistants as well. They have been wonderfully responsive to us, and we have been in contact with them since actually 2 days after the tornado struck the city. So this concludes today's Focus on DeSoto today. Thank you, Renee, for being with us. Thank you, Phil. We appreciate the update. And we appreciate that the city is staying with its primary focus of ensuring public safety, but also our secondary focus is attempting to ease the taxpayer burden by getting any reimbursement possible. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.